The US forces invade Saipan in June of 1944. Despite a Japanese naval counterattack, Saipan was secured by early July. Operations followed against Guam and Tinian, with all three islands secured by August. Naval construction battalions began at once to construct air bases suitable for the B-29 Superfortress bombers. In all, 5 major airfields were built. Each was large enough to accommodate a wing consisting of 4 bomber groups, giving a total of 180 B-29s per airfield. These bases became the launch sites for the large B-29 raids against Japan in the final year of the war. The first B-29 arrived on Saipan in October of 1944, and the first combat mission was launched from there in late October of 1944. The campaign of incendiary raids started in February of 1945 and peaked early with the most destructive bombing raid in history on the night of the 10th of March 1945 on Tokyo. From then on, these raids intensified, being launched regularly until the end of the war. The attacks succeeded in devastating most large Japanese cities and gravely damaged Japan's war industries. As a response to the B-29 raids on the Japanese home islands, the Imperial Japanese Navy developed a short-range, land-based interceptor armed with 4 forward-firing cannons in the nose. In early 1943, the Navy issued a specification calling for a land-based fighter capable of intercepting enemy bombers. The aircraft should achieve 740 km per hour, reach 8,000 meters in 10 minutes, and carry 4 30mm cannons. The aircraft would be built by the Kyūshū Airplane Company, and it was designated as J7W1 Shinden, or Magnificent Lightning. The Navy liked the design but was hesitant to move forward with the radical, untested configuration. An official order for the Shinden was issued in June of 1944, with the prototype's first flight expected in January of 1945. The Shinden had a canard configuration with a swept, rear-mounted wing and tricycle undercarriage. The aircraft consisted of an aluminium airframe covered by aluminium panels. The control surfaces were skinned also with aluminium. Mounted in the fuselage between the foreplanes were 4 30mm Type 5 cannons, each with 60 rounds per gun. The leading edge of the Shinden's wing was swept back 20 degrees and the trailing edge was swept back 6 degrees. While the prototype was still under construction, the Navy ordered the Shinden into production in May of 1944 to counter the imminent threat of American bombing raids with the B-29. Ultimately, the production schedule called for Kyūshū to produce 30 aircraft per month, and the Nakajima Aircraft Company would build 120 units per month. In September of 1944, a mock-up was inspected by the Navy, and wind tunnel tests of the scale model had yielded positive results. The airframe was nearing completion in January of 1945, when the first flight was originally scheduled to be conducted. Bombing raids delayed delivery of the engine, which finally arrived in April. The Shinden was finally completed on the 10th of June and was subsequently disassembled and moved to Fukuoka Airport on the 14th of June. The aircraft made its first flight on the 3rd of August 1945. Liftoff occurred at 204 km per hour, and the aircraft was not flown above 400 meters. The speed did not exceed 260 km per hour, and the flight lasted under 15 minutes. Two further flights were made on the 6th and 8th of August, each with about 15 minutes in length. The aircraft basic handling was evaluated, and the landing gear was never retracted during the tests. The Shinden exhibited a tendency for its nose to pitch down, which was countered by the steady pull on the control stick. The engine, extension shaft and remote gear reduction caused some vibration issues. It was decided that speed tests would be initiated on the aircraft's next flight, scheduled for the 17th of August. However, all work was stopped with the Japanese surrender of the 15th of August, and much of the aircraft's documentation was burned one day later on the 16th. At the end of the war, a second Shinden was nearly complete and waiting on its engine, and a third aircraft was under construction. No other examples were completed to any meaningful level. The first prototype, with around 45 minutes of flight time, was captured by the US Marines and found to have all of the cockpit glass removed and some body panels damaged, possibly from a typhoon. For many years it was thought that the first prototype was destroyed and that the second aircraft was captured by the US forces, but this was later found to be incorrect. Under US orders, the aircraft was repaired and repainted while still in Japan. Most pictures of the Shinden are immediately after the repairs have been made or shortly after it was painted. In almost all of the pictures, the cockpit glass was missing. In October of 1945, the Shinden was disassembled and shipped to the United States. It was transferred to the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum in 1960. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and to make sure you don't miss my future work, please make sure you are subscribed to my channel and press the bell notification button. Thank you, and see you in the next video.